vertigo, which is called in a Zen Buddhist poem, above not a tile to cover the head, below not an inch of ground to stand on. Well, where are you then? Well, of course you always were. You've discovered you're it. And that's very uncomfortable, because you can't grab it. See here, I've discovered that whatever it is that I am, that's not something inside my head. It is just as much out there as it is in here, but whatever it is, I cannot get hold of it. Well, that gives you the heebie-jeebies. You get butterflies in the stomach, anxiety, traumas, and all kinds of things. But this was all explained by Shankara, the great Hindu commentator on the Upanishads, the great master of the non-dualistic doctrine of the universe, when he said, that which knows, which is in all beings, the knower, is never an object of its own knowledge. So therefore, to everyone who is in quest.
How are you doing today, or this evening?
Of the supreme kick. The great experience. The vision of God. Whatever you want to call it. Liberation. When you think that you're not it, any old guru can sell you on a method to find it. And that may not be a bad thing for him to do. Because, as Blake said, a fool who persists in his folly will become wise. And a clever guru is a person who leads you on. Here, kitty, 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 kitty. I've got something very...
What does it say here? You're at work. Okay. Oh wait, what is this? Okay, I'm trying to move. Very good. I'm okay. I had an early morning. I was out doing more of those pressure washing, those Good Day recipe signs around Echo Park, which is a place in LA. So I was up at 3 a.m. and did that for a few hours. And did a little cleaning. I'm about to make my breakfast. I haven't made breakfast in since I got sick. Since I got that parasite, because I was kind of traumatized, because I think it was from either the cilantro and the salsa I made or those raspberries is where I got that parasite. And it just made me not want to eat. But then when I started eating out, my old food, I used to just go to Starbucks and Five Guys. It's like a burger place for dinner and Starbucks in the morning. My face started breaking out like crazy. So I'm like, okay, I can't do that. Can't keep this going, because now I look ugly and my face is all broken out. So I'm going back to making eggs today. It's so annoying when it's so hot that you get out of the shower and then oh, thank you, I appreciate that. I do, when you have huge marks on your face, these aren't as bad as they were, but and then I have one over my eye, just it's just a bummer, is all. I feel a lot better though. Also, my face will get less red in a few minutes once I'm done rubbing it. But I feel a lot better. I was the parasite really knocked me out. That really sucked. But that's okay. That's the way these things go. And this deadline I made for the app, my goal deadline for August 6th also kind of bummed me out. Oh wait, this isn't set the right way. Also bummed me out. I was stressed about that, which made me like not want to be around people. Oh, I also got, and we'll see, I got some yogurt because I'm trying to get in. I'm going to go work out later, and I try to avoid dairy, but we're just going to see how yogurt does if I do eggs and yogurt, because eggs are not very high in carbs, and I wanted to get some carbs in before I go to the gym. You're supposed to have carbs before you go to the gym and then protein after. From what I understand. From what I understand. Okay, so is this basically, we're gonna set this up over here. So, lights are on. Putting this back on for a minute. Why isn't this working now?
To show you, yeah. You just wait. Oh, but you've got to go through a lot of stages yet. You say, can I get that? Oh, I want to get that. You know, all the time it's you. I was talking with the Zen master the other day, and he said, you should be my disciple. I looked at him and said, who was Buddha's teacher? And he looked at me in a very odd way and said, so he burst into laughter and he gave me a piece of clover. So, you see, so long as you can be persuaded that there's something more that you ought to be than you are, you've divided yourself from
I do need makeup.
reality.
I had people, there's people I know where I'd done some videos or something like that, and I had multiple comments, both from older women. Oh. I missed you. I didn't particularly miss doing live streams. I was not feeling, it was just really weird where I'm like, when I feel sick, I've been just feeling really off. Very, very off. And it's like, I do not want to be seen. No, these multiple older women, there was one who made some kind of comment, well, this is a while ago. One of my videos that went to Facebook, she had said something like, what happened to you? And I was like, I don't know what she's talking about. And she's like, it's like you have like AIDS on your face. Because I had like a breakout that day. This was months ago. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know what that means, but also, what a thing to say to someone. And then a few weeks, probably a couple months ago too, this was a little bit, one of them had said something along the lines of, it was like, yo, have you ever heard of concealer? And it's like, so, I think as a dude, I don't know. And what's funny is, those were on days when I didn't even think that I like looked that bad, like it was even that noticeable. So now when it really pops off, well, you know what's funny is, I didn't mind, I definitely still mind, but I just got kind of used to when it was normal. It was, but once my face kind of like cleared up when I was making all my own food, it felt so good. Like I was like, oh, this is actually working and starting to help. And so then when it went back to the way like it was before, It was really frustrating. But I was also grateful where I'm like to see it so strictly because it was getting better for a few weeks, and then when I went back to my old diet to see it's like, oh, this is what does it. So new awareness. It's kind of like the stuff with the app Good Day Recipe, where knowing, it's like, now I know. Not stoked about it. I'm not always like stoked with what I find out, but I'm glad to know. I know better now. And so now you know better, you can do better. I have not seasoned this pan. I got this from a friend because I had a non-stick pan that was apparently really bad and can like get you sick. And so, but I started cleaning this one out to get the rust out, and I got all of the inside, but I haven't seasoned it, so we're just gonna see. But I'm tired of, oh, wrong one. I'm tired of waiting. I'm just tired of waiting for this to work. So we're gonna see how this does. 2 eggs. I am not doing homemade salsa because it was either the cilantro in the salsa or the raspberries that got me sick. So I don't have raspberries anymore, or hopefully this salsa's good. I don't know if it was the raspberries or the cilantro, but I'm like kind of neurotic about it at this point. Like, it's like not worth it to me to risk it. Honestly, cast iron does seem way better. It seems way better than that other pot I had. We're gonna see how it goes, but. All right, while I'm doing this, I'm gonna put this Alan Watts thing back on. I need to stand up straight, God.
The universe from God, or whatever you want to call that.
Oh wait, I missed. Hang on a second. If your dark circles are caused by... I'm not even talking about my dark circles, I'm talking about my bumps. You're going to make me self-conscious about something else. That's funny.
And you will find constantly, if you were interested.
This is the funniest thing. This is the funniest thing about faces and beauty and whatever is, if you start to look, it's like you'll find you'll find everything wrong if you look.
In Gestalt therapy.
Yeah.
In sensitivity training.
It's funny with the sickness thing. It was like I just didn't even. It's like I didn't even have like. I didn't even feel like I had energy to give. Like being on camera, like I felt like it would have gotten sucked out of me. I was just like, yeah. Wait, is this right? Okay.
Nose, 3, 4 suggestions, you're invisible. Ask AI.
The training in any kind of yoga or what have you, that there will be that funny sensation of what I'll call spiritual greed that can be aroused by somebody indicating to you, there are still higher stages for you to attain. You should meet my guru. So you might say then now, to be truly realized, you have to get to the point where you're not seeking anymore. So then you begin to think, well, we will now be non-seekers. disciples of Krishnamurti, who, because he says he doesn't read any spiritual books, they can't read anything with mystery stories. Becoming spiritually unspiritual. Well, you'll find that that too is what is called in Zen legs on a snake. It's irrelevant. You don't need not to see. Because you don't need anything. And it's like crawling into a hole and pulling the hole in after you. And the great master of this technique was a Buddhist scholar who lived about 200 AD called Nagarjuna. He invented a whole dialectic. He had a whole school called Madhyamika, where the, as it were, leader of the students would simply destroy all their ideas.
Uh-oh.
Absolutely abolish their philosophical notions. And they get the heebie-jeebies. And he would, they see he didn't have the heebie-jeebies. He seemed perfectly relaxed in not having any particular point of view. Well, they said, teacher, how can you stand it? We have to have something to hang on to. Who does? Who are you? And eventually you discover, of course, that it's not necessary to hang on to anything. To rely on it. There's nothing to rely on. Because you're it.
I'm just reading your panda bear
It's like
comment.
the universe. It's like asking the question, where is the universe? And by that I mean the whole universe. Whereabouts is it in space? Everything in it is falling around everything else, but there's no concrete floor underneath for the thing to crash.
Oh man, this is...
Because the space.
Okay, I see why seasoning
Infinite
works.
space, if you like. We don't have to think of curved space. The space that goes out and out and out forever and ever and has no end. What is that? Of course it's you. What else could it be? Only the universe is delightfully arranged so that as it looks at itself,
No, you're good, you can ask.
in order not to be one-sided and prejudiced, it looks at itself from an uncountable number of points of view. We thus avoid solipsism, as if I were to have the notion that it's only me that's really here, and you're all in my dream. Of course, it's on that point of view cannot really be disputed.
This is not, these are not really
This
good,
is by
I agree.
imagining a conference of solipsists.
What's your question? Wow, these eggs do not look nearly as good. I need to get this pan seasoned because these are like a disaster. Wow. Wow. Okay, this is good for me to learn this, I guess. Oh no. Get off. Damn. Okay, that's good to know. That is definitely... Okay, I see why people have non-stick pans. Yes, and yes, she may be. Should I set up a way? Should I set it up so? It never even occurred to me that you might want it so that people don't do that. It didn't occur to me that that might need to be set up if it bothers you, but I just realized I didn't even put that function into the thing. Yeah, I can set up a thing. Yeah, I can set it up so it... Oh. Well, either way, it occurs to me that it could happen at some point that someone ends up following someone that they don't want to be followed. So that might be something I should set up. I'm kind of scared of salsa now. Oh, and I forgot to do salt and pepper. I'm out of what's it called? The rhythm. This can go up here. Okay. Well, if it was, either way, I'll set it up so that people have more control over that.
As to which one of them was the one that was really there.
Have you ever listened to Alan Watts?
Now, you see, if you understand what I'm saying with your intelligence,
Oh, whoa. What's it say? Anyway, older people in America seem to have a different way of thinking more than the mindset. Huh. I'm curious as to what you mean by that. Alan Watts is... I'm curious as to what your comment is about older people, how older people think in the US versus in Romania. Alan Watts is like a philosopher guy, I guess, and lecturer, and I guess teacher, and I think he was British, and he is dead now, but he was real big, I feel like in like the 60s. And he studied a lot of like Eastern philosophy. He studied a lot of religions and philosophy and kind of introduced a lot of like Buddhism and things like that to Western culture. I can't remember what you say. I can't remember what to say in your language. I can't remember.
And then take the next step and say, but I understood it now, but I didn't feel it. Then next I raise the question, why do you want to feel it? You say, I want something more, because that's again that spiritual greed. And you can only say that because you didn't understand it. There is nothing to pursue because you're it. And if you don't know that, you always were it. And if you don't know that, in other words, in Christian terms, Jewish terms, if you don't know that you're God from the beginning, what happens is that you try to become God by force. Therefore you start being violent, discouraged, this and that, the other. All our violence, all our competitiveness, all our terrific anxiety to survive is because we didn't know from the beginning when we were in. Well, then you would say if we did know from the beginning, as in fact you did, when you were a baby, but then everybody says, well, nothing would ever happen. But it did happen, didn't it? And it's, some of it's pretty messy. But what people don't realize is they say, well, take the Hindus. It's basic to Hindu religion that we're all God in disguise and that the world is an illusion. All that is a sort of half-truth. But if that is the case, if Hindus, and really awakened Hindus, by the knowledge of their union with the Godhead, would simply become inert, why then Hindu music?
Honestly, it's funny you say that about being open-minded, because I think a lot of young people in the U.S. feel like that about the old people in the U.S. Like, not communist, but old mindset, not open-minded.
The most incredibly complex, marvelous technique. When they sit and play, they laugh at each other. They're enjoying themselves enormously with these very complicated musical games. But when we come and the symphony orchestra gets up, everybody dresses in evening dress and a serious expression, and all the audience is down, and you know, it's like it's in a kind of church. And there's none of that terrific zest where the drummer, the tabla player laughs at the sarod player as they
Thank you, I appreciate
each other in all kinds of marvelous improvisation. So if you do find out, by any chance, who you really are, you, instead of becoming merely lazy, you know, you start laughing. And laughing leads to dancing. And dancing needs music. And you compete with each other for a change.
If you took a 2-week vacation tomorrow, would your business grow?
You're gonna have
stay
to
the
come.
same, or would it fall apart? Or it probably happens somewhere in the middle.
You're gonna have to come
But
visit sometime.
you probably wouldn't feel.
All right.
There is no problem of life in the sense in which we ordinarily use that phrase. And that seems an almost astounding affront to our common sense.
This sounds not right.
Life not a problem.
I feel like there's like fake Alan Watts recordings now, which is really annoying. They're like AI generated.
nature, human nature in I find it a little difficult to say what the subject matter of this seminar is going to be, because it's too fundamental to give it a title. I'm going to talk about what there is. Now, the first thing, though, that we have to do is to get our perspectives with some background about the basic ideas which, as Westerners living today in the United States, influence our everyday common sense, our fundamental notions about what life is about. And there are historical origins for this, which influence us more strongly than most people realize. Ideas of the world which are built into the very nature of the language we use, and of our ideas of logic, and of what makes sense altogether. And these basic ideas I call myth. Now, using the word myth to mean simply something untrue, but to use the word myth in a more powerful sense. A myth
That would be neat.
is an image,
That would be neat.
in terms of which we try to make sense of the world. Now, for example, a myth in a way is a metaphor. If you want to explain electricity to someone who doesn't know anything about electricity, you say, well, you talk about an electric current. Now, the word current is borrowed from rivers, it's borrowed from hydraulics. And so you explain electricity in terms of water. Now, electricity is not water. It behaves actually in a different way, but there are some ways in which the behavior of water is like the behavior of electricity. And so you explain it in terms of water. Or if you're an astronomer and you want to explain to people what you mean by an expanding universe in curved space, you say, well, it's as if you had a black balloon, and there are white dots on the black balloon. Those dots represent galaxies. And as you blow the balloon up, uniformly, all of them grow and grow farther apart. But you're using an analogy.
All right, we're going to do some yogurt today.
Is not a balloon with white dots on it. So in the same way,
I
we
don't have
use
bowls.
these sort of images to try and make sense of the world. And we at present are living under the influence of two very powerful images, which are, in the present state of scientific knowledge, inadequate. And one of our major problems today is to find an adequate, satisfying image of the world. Well, that's what I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to go further than that. Not only what image of the world to have,
I got some organic
but
yogurt,
how we can get our sensations and our feelings
cinnamon,
in accordance
honey.
with the most sensible image of the world that we can manage to conceive. All right, now, the two images which we have been working under for 2,000 years and maybe more are what I would call two models of the universe. And the first is called the ceramic model, and the second, the fully automatic model. The ceramic model of the universe is based on the book of Genesis, from which Judaism, Islam, and Christianity derive their basic picture of the world. And the image of the world in the book of Genesis is that the world is an artifact. It is made. As a potter takes clay and forms pots out of it, or as a carpenter takes wood and makes tables and chairs out of it. Don't forget, Jesus is the son of a carpenter, and also the son of God. So the image of God and of the world is based on the idea of God
That's funny.
as a technician, potter, carpenter, architect, who has in mind a plan and who fashions the universe in accordance with that plan. So basic to this image of the world is the notion, you see, that the world consists of stuff, basically. Primordial matter, substance, stuff, as pots are made of clay. Now, clay by itself has no intelligence. Clay does not of itself become a pot, although a good potter may think otherwise. Because if you were a really good potter, you don't impose your will on the clay. You ask any given lump of clay what it wants to become, and you help it to do that. And then you become a genius. But the ordinary idea I'm talking about is that simply clay is unintelligent. It's just stuff. And the potter imposes his will on it and makes it become whatever he wants. And so in the book of Genesis, the Lord God creates Adam out of the dust of the earth. In other words, he makes a clay figurine, and then he breathes into it, and it becomes alive. Because the clay becomes informed. By itself it is formless, it has no intelligence, and therefore it requires an external intelligence and an external energy to bring it to life and to put some sense into it. And so in this way, we inherit a conception of ourselves.
I can't even like walk and chew gum at the same time. The amount of times I walk into another room and forget entirely what I was doing or why I walked into there is like multiple times a day. I do that. And then I have to like walk back to wherever I was to figure out why I walked away. Come on, work. You know? Alright, so it's not just me.
As being made, it's perfectly natural in our culture for a child to ask its mother, how was I made? Or who made me? And this is a very, very powerful idea, but for example, it is not shared by the Chinese or by the Hindus. A Chinese child would not ask its mother, how was I made? A Chinese child might ask its mother, how did I grow? Which is an entirely different procedure from making. You see, when you make something, you put it together, you arrange parts, or you work from the outside to the in, as a sculptor works on a stone, or as the potter works on clay. But when you watch something growing, it works in exactly the opposite direction. It works from the inside to the outside. It expands, it burgeons, it blossoms, and it happens all over itself at once. In other words, the original simple form, say, of a living cell in the womb, progressively complicates itself. And that's the growing process. And it's quite different from the making process.
Here's what comes out of your body.
Oh, advertisements.
I'm walking on every day.
Weird.
But we have thought historically, you see, of the world as something made, the idea being that trees, for example, are constructions. Just as tables and houses are constructions.
I remember smoking. Yeah, if you go have a smoke, then you'll figure it out. It'll jog your memory.
And so there is, for that reason, a fundamental difference between the made and the maker. And this image, this ceramic model of the universe.
Okay, so I did this in the wrong order, but it's yogurt and cinnamon, which I should have put the cinnamon on top of a banana and a lot of honey. So we're gonna try it. I'm just trying to get some carbs in before I, again, do gym time. So we're gonna see how this is. Okay, it's interesting. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this again. It's okay. Thank you. I want to learn your language again, what you say. But I need to scroll back and look for it. It's pretty good. It's good. I've never made this like this before. That's pretty good. Not as good as a cigarette though.
Originated in cultures where the form of government was monarchical, and where therefore the maker of the universe was conceived also at the same time in the image of the king of the universe. King of kings, Lord of lords, the only ruler of princes, who doth from thy throne behold all dwellers upon earth. I'm quoting the Book of Common Prayer. And so all those people who are oriented to the universe in that way feel related to basic reality as a subject to a king. And so they are on very, very humble terms in relation to whatever it is that works all this thing. I find it odd in the United States that people who are citizens of a republic have a monarchical theory of the universe. Because we are carrying over from very ancient Near Eastern cultures the notion that the Lord of the universe must be respected in a certain way. People kneel, people bow, people prostrate themselves. Because and you know what the reason for all that is, that nobody is more frightened of everybody else than a clown. He sits with his back to the wall, and his guards on either side of him. And he has you face downwards on the ground because you can't use weapons that way. When you come into his presence, you don't stand up and face him because you might attack. And he has reason to fear that you might because he's ruling you all. And the man who rules you all is the biggest crook in the bunch.
It took me a lot of years to do it. It took me a lot of years. I told you about that book, right? I won't mention it anymore. I just want to make sure you know about it. But that was the only way I could, and still every once in a while I was telling my mom the other day that she's talking about like she doesn't want things to get bad when she gets like older. Basically like if things get too far bad to just like let her die. And I was saying the same thing, but like also even more so where I'm like, if there comes a point where I have to go to like doctor's offices all the time, like the hospital, I don't know what your doctor's offices are like, but our doctor's offices, the hospital, is the worst. It's just like fluorescent lights and white rooms and just like terrible. And I just know I don't want to spend the end of my life in a hospital or around doctor's offices. Like if they have doctors that can come to me in my home or somewhere nice, but like hospitals, they just are terrible and like what a miserable way to go. I don't want to go that way. And I was telling my mom, like if there's a point where I have to start going, and I'll have to write this down I guess because odds are I'll probably outlive my mom. Oh hell yeah. That's awesome. I just saw your comment about the book. But I was telling my mom that if I have to end up going to too many doctor's offices or hospitals. Like if things go so far downhill that I'm like not gonna make it, I was like, we're not doing doctor's offices, we're not doing hospitals. I'm just gonna try and find a cabin somewhere out in the woods where there's like a deck or like a front porch or a back porch, and I'm just gonna sit on the porch and smoke cigarettes. Like if I'm gonna die, I will 100% take up smoking again. And just be like, all right, cool, whatever, I'm just gonna go, because I'm not going back into fluorescent lights, and it's like, I would rather just be around nature and like smoke cigarettes. And but that's for, that probably, hopefully that won't ever happen. Hopefully I'll die in a like freak accident or something. Something like wild and exciting. Okay, I'm trying to decide if I want to do, I guess I should just do these dishes now. Otherwise, I won't want to.
Because he's the one who succeeded in crime. The other people are pushed aside because the criminals, the people we lock up in jail, are simply the people who didn't make it. So naturally, the real boss sits with his back to the wall and his henchmen on either side of him. And so when you design a church, what does it look like? Catholic church with the altar as it used to be. It's changing now because the Catholic religion is changing. But the Catholic church has the altar with its back to the wall at the east end of the church.
Wait, what's the saying? I want to hear the saying.
There, the altar is the throne, and the priest is the chief vizier of the court, and he is making obeisance to the throne in front, but there is the throne of God, the altar. And all the people are facing it and kneeling down. And a great Catholic cathedral is called a basilica, from the Greek basilis, which means king. So a basilica is the house of a king. And the ritual of the Catholic Church is based on the court rituals of Byzantium. A Protestant church is a little different, but basically the same. The furniture of a Protestant church is based on a judicial courthouse. The pulpit. The judge in an American court wears a black robe. He wears exactly the same dress as a Protestant minister. And everybody sits in these boxes. Like there's a jury box, there's a box for the judge, there's a box for this, a box for that. And those are the pews in an ordinary kind of colonial type Protestant church. So both these kinds of churches, which have an autocratic view of the nature of the universe, decorate themselves, are architecturally constructed in accordance with political images of the universe. One is the king and the other is the judge. Your Honor. There's sense in this. When in court you have to refer to the judge as Your Honor. It stops the people engaged in litigation from losing their tempers and getting rude. There's a certain sense to that. But when you want to apply that image to the universe itself, to the very nature of life, it has limitations. For one thing, the idea of a difference between matter and spirit. This idea doesn't work anymore.
I finished my deck, cleared my inbox, and still had 10 minutes just to watch the world go by.
We love commercials.
The ride to the airport.
Long, long ago, physicists stopped asking the question, what is matter? They began that way. They wanted to know, what is the fundamental substance of the world? And the more they asked that question, the more they realized they couldn't answer it. Because if you're going to say what matter is, you've got to describe it in terms of behavior. And that is to say, in terms of form, in terms of pattern. You tell what it does. You describe the smallest shapes of it that you can see. You see what happens, you look, say, at a piece of stone, and you want to say, well, what is this piece of stone made of? Well, you take your microscope, and you look at it, and instead of just this block of stuff, you see ever so many tinier shapes, little crystals.
It's something like, I only have one life and one hole in my ass. I can't die healthy. I think that's awesome. I love it.
Fine, so far.
I love it.
Now, what are these crystals made of? And you take a more powerful instrument and you find that they are made of molecules. And then you take still more powerful instruments to find out what the molecules are made of, and you begin to describe atoms, electrons, protons, mesons, all sorts of sub-nuclear particles. But you never arrive at the basic stuff. Because there isn't any. What happens is this. Stuff is a word for the world as it looks when our eyes are out of focus.
That's so good.
Stuff, the idea of stuff is that it's undifferentiated as some kind of a goo. And when your eyes are not in sharp focus, everything looks fuzzy. When you get your eyes into focus, you see a form, you see a pattern. But when you want to change the level of magnification and go in closer and closer and closer, you get fuzzy again before you get clear. So every time you get fuzzy, you go through thinking there's some kind of stuff there. But when you get clear, you see a shape. And so all that we can talk about is patterns. We never can talk about the stuff of which these patterns is supposed to be made, because you don't really have to suppose that there is any. It's enough to talk about the world in terms of pattern. It describes anything that can be described. And you don't really then have to suppose that.
I mean, the way I would say it, I mean, it's probably, we would shorten it in English probably, it's like I have one life and one asshole. But hole in my ass is also pretty, I feel like that's kind of more, that's the way I feel like an older person would say it, and it's kind of better that way. Yeah, that's kind of awesome. Okay, let's see. Sayings are great. Okay. Fuck. Well, I at least feel better that the dishes are done before I didn't leave them, because I leave stuff all the time. And then it's a bummer because I have to do it later. So, good for you, Justin. Gonna get my pre-workout going. These powders are so crazy. They're just like there's just always powder. Even if I'm careful, there's always powder everywhere. All of the time. All the time. I'll try and be so careful. And it doesn't make a difference. Okay. I think that is about my time though, so I should probably get to it. I need to throw away the rest of this fucking 2 weeks old salsa that I made that I immediately, I'm like, I don't know if this was the salsa that got me sick. It was so nauseating that I couldn't even like touch it in the fridge. Like food in general was just nauseating. There's so much cilantro in here. We're gonna let that soak because I don't want to deal with that anymore. Okay, it's relatively clean here. All right, I'm gonna go to the gym. Thank you. Thanks for keeping me company. I appreciate it very much. Very, very much. And I hope, let's see, who's still here? Let's see. Let's just see, wait. Oh, my cat, that's not my cat. Christine, that's not my cat. That was my old cat. And my roommate has, my old roommate and his wife watch her now. I miss her tons. I miss her tons. Maybe after this next, I'm gonna have a tour coming up and maybe I'll get an animal again. I don't know. It's so funny, if I think about getting animals, I feel like I'm like being disrespectful to the ones that I had before. I'm bummed because when I split up from my last person, we had a lot of animals and she was like, do you want to take one of the newest cats we had? Clearly liked me a lot, like picked me, and I was like, no, I didn't really have I didn't know where I was going to be staying, and so I didn't take, like she was better able, set up more able to take care of the animals, and so I didn't take any of them, and I kind of like regret that. But I also, well, I felt bad even taking care of any of them because I'd just given up Maggie, my little black cat. And I thought it was like rude and disrespectful to Maggie to just like get another cat. Anyway, none of this is important and I'm just rambling, but yes, Maggie is incredibly sweet. She's very sweet. She's a good kitty cat. Okay. I need to go work out and get to some stuff, and hopefully I can get another video done today. We'll see. Thanks for keeping me company, and I hope the end of your work goes well. It's hard when it's just hard too when, like, I'm traveling and on my own. Like, if you have a kid, it seems like it makes sense where you're already used to like take care of things. For me, it's like tricky enough to just like take care of my plants. And I can leave those for like 7 days at a time. But this is also why I'm like, Justin, maybe this is why you're alone, is because you don't take responsibility for things. So maybe something to that. Yeah. Thank you. I hope you have a great day too. And yeah, I think I'll be back on tomorrow morning. I'll see if I can get a reel posted. We'll see, because I've been slacking. So, all right. Hope you have a good rest of your day. And thanks again for being here.